And with that being said, we welcome you to game number 1 in the round of 64s of EGC Winter Championships. On the left side on Arabia is GiveUAnxiety playing as the blue French, and on the right side is Don Artie playing as the English in red.
Yeah, it looks like both players just off to that standard start. No lumber camp from either of them, just going to be rushing the sheep and the gold, trying to get that age up down as fast as possible. Makes a lot of sense, as we were saying, like the game's probably going to be fairly aggressive, and if they want to have any control over the game or prevent themselves from taking any damage from the opponent, they've got to get up as fast as possible.
Now, looking at the base spots here, Don Artie's got some beautiful forests in front of his base. Obviously, playing as the English, he's going to have a lack of mobility compared to his opponent, so well-defendable base is quite vital for him, and his base is looking very good, to be honest. 2 forests in front of his base, shielding him quite a bit. The gold's on the left side, fairly well-defendable. Berry's also close to the town center. Ooh.
Sorry to cut you off, but Don Artie has already lost his scout.
Oh, boy.
To GiveUAnxiety's town center. And that's not... He's training a second scout right now, but GiveUAnxiety's scout is on the way home and might choose to scoop up all those sheep. Actually, I don't even know. Maybe GiveUAnxiety didn't even notice that he killed that scout, because the scout's actually not heading towards those sheep. I think Don Artie might get lucky here and actually be able to rescue those sheep with this newly produced scout. But so a pretty big blunder that doesn't quite end up getting punished as hard as it could have been.
Indeed. It very much seems like that GiveUAnxiety didn't notice he killed that scout out there. It seemed like Don Artie didn't expect that town center to be there, and it looks like he's getting away with those sheep. That's going to be quite vital, because 5 sheep over here is a massive loss. Looks like he's going to take those home, and given the fact that GUA also has just 5 trailing that scout, the only deficit that Don Artie suffers from is that he had to make a new scout, which obviously means that he sacrificed 1 villager over here for that.
Yeah, certainly could have been much worse, though. He definitely could have invested in the scout and lost all of the sheep, and that would have just been catastrophic. So thankfully he does manage to salvage the situation somewhat, and yeah, hopefully we still have a game on our hands, or thankfully we still have a game on our hands.
School of Cavalry on the way for GiveUAnxiety. On the other side, you're going to have the Council Hall, so standard age of landmarks for both sides over here. It looks like we only have 3 villagers on it for Don Artie, and on the other side, there's 5, though, for GiveUAnxiety. So he's going to have a slightly faster castle age over here, over his counterpart. Keeps 2 villagers on gold, but we don't see a single mill coming in from him. So this is likely just going to be a couple of knights and no professional scouts as things stand.
Yep, looks like just a couple of knights to apply a little bit of pressure. Yeah, Don Artie on the hand, just, yeah, taking things a little bit slower. Only 2 vills on the landmark now. So really not too worried. He's got, of course, the English town center does have the double arrows compared to a normal town center, so each additional vill you garrison adds 2 arrows instead of 1, so he shouldn't be too worried about any early raids. As you said, his wood line is already quite nice. He's got enough sheep underneath his town center for the time being, so he can afford to take a little bit of time and age a little bit more slowly, get some extra resources. Looks like he's actually going to be putting down some farms, so yeah, not going to be very aggressive play from him, but he might be going for that sort of that timing push that we were talking about earlier.
Castle Feudal Age, excuse me for that. GiveUAnxiety is in Feudal Age, and here come the Horsemen, the unit that you talked about a tiny bit before this game started, a unit that received a buff in the January patch over here, and now, as we will see, it does have 2 ranged base armor, so even without the upgrades, that is going to be 2 pierce armor for them, making them a lot more viable against archers, and also a lot cheaper than knights.
Yeah, it looks like a second horseman going to be queued up as well, so yeah, looks like he is going to put his faith in that newly buffed horseman. Does make a lot of sense against English, as the horseman is a specialized unit against archers, but you can pretty much guarantee that English is going to be making archers, so makes a lot of sense. So interesting to see what he uses that gold for. Saved up 200 so far, might just use it for some economic upgrades. Maybe we'll see a mill go down soon on these berries and grab some wheelbarrow, or maybe he'll even move out to one of these hunts.
Honestly, I would be thinking in dimensions of a blacksmith. With the French, you get the attack upgrade for free. Yeah. So, especially for horsemen that have a fairly low base stack compared to knights, you could really justify that. And with this much gold, you could get the defense upgrade on the pierce armor, so suddenly you would have even more ranged armor. So that would be a very nice combination here. And considering that he's very heavy on the lumberjacking, has 10 villagers on that wood line, 11 now, it seems like he's going to be spending that wood very soon, and that probably will be a blacksmith for him.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, especially against English, getting the extra durability on the horseman and getting the extra damage will help a lot with raids as well. It sounds like a very compelling reason to build a blacksmith for sure, and that does indeed seem to be what he's saving for. He's also constructing some archers now behind this as well, so that'll give him a little bit of anti-spearman power in his composition. Yeah, looking good for him so far. But I mean, Artie is doing fine as well. Got a couple spearmen out to defend his wood line. He's got 5 farms down now, so clearly no intention of going for the hunt anytime soon, if at all. And yeah, he's just gonna sit up, build his own blacksmith, and defend for now.
And you mentioned before this game that early on the French have the eco advantage because they have the faster training villagers, of course, cheaper eco technologies. But as we go deeper and deeper into the game and we're seeing more and more farming for the English, suddenly their eco is going to start to overtake the French one. And currently, this game situation is perfect for Artie because he's not getting pushed and he has the time to build up his farming economy and start leveraging that. So I think Artie has to be happy with the fact that GiveUAnxiety is also playing very defensive here.
Yeah, that's true. Though as long as French doesn't have to build those farms, it's probably still roughly equal if Artie manages to do a full farm transition. Because as long as GiveUAnxiety hasn't invested into that, he still has the opportunity to use these hunts on the map. He's got a couple vills on berries, and he'll have the momentum from that extra wood. I mean, farms are great with English, but it is still a small investment, and it does take a little bit of time to pay off. And the time that it really pays off the most is once your opponent starts to make that transition to farms themselves.
GiveUAnxiety amassing quite a lot of archers over here, as the blacksmith is just now coming in. We're seeing a couple of knights hit the field as well, but not a ton. It's mostly horsemen and archers. On the other side, we will have the attack upgrade coming in for Artie, and the first knight just now moves in from GiveUAnxiety. He's going to try and snipe one villager over here, but the town center should be able to discourage that aggression from GUA's knight.
Yep, not quite getting a villager kill there, but he should be okay with that. He can grab the chivalry upgrade at some point and heal that knight up. Just getting a little bit of damage on there, making Artie maybe think twice about pushing out in the future as he's got to defend these villagers a little bit more. And doing a good job of just keeping his scout nearby, waiting for those low HP villagers to come back and going back in to snipe them.
Knight getting away here with 9 HP for GiveUAnxiety. He's going to be able to heal it up once he has Chivalry, but that's an upgrade that he hasn't gotten just yet, so this Knight is going to be out of action for some time. So far, Artie is playing very, very defensive, but one thing that GUA was able to accomplish with this raid is that he could see how many units Artie has on the field. He saw the Spearman, he saw the Longbow, so he knows exactly there is some pressure coming his way, and it looks like those archers and spears will move out to the left side, aiming to hit the gold mine of GUA. Notably, the second gold mine of GiveUAnxiety is right next to the one that he's mining currently, so there isn't really a good backup gold mine for him. There is one in the far left corner, but that's pretty far away. This is something that GiveUAnxiety did scout though, so it's a reasonable backup option, but his number 2 option is just as exposed as the number 1 is.
Yeah, that is indeed a good spot for Artie to potentially apply some pressure, but I mean, as we've seen so far, GiveUAnxiety is not shy to make horsemen, so he might not even be too concerned about this gold unless he intends to go up to the Castle Age in the future. Yeah, and at this point, I feel like GiveUAnxiety is normally an aggressive player, but he's really like not left his base at all so far this game. Aside from the one knight, he's not really moving out to try and take these hunts. He's not really being as bold as I would normally expect him to. And I think that might be just playing into Artie's hands a little bit, although GiveUAnxiety did manage to pick off one villager with the raid in the back just now.
Precisely, as the longbows now move in, and there's Artie to retaliate, picks off one, picks off a second one, and then disengages. I was just about to say that before this fight, there was 1 unit killed in the entire game. Now the horsemen are coming in though, and suddenly those longbows could get intercepted. Artie looking to set up a trap in that stealth forest with the spearman though. This could be a beautiful trap by our red player here.
Yeah, this looks like really good situation for Artie. But then again, there are so many archers here that he might be able to just chase down the longbows at the end of this if the longbow is slower. And yeah, it looks like the spearmen are going down. There's still a few horsemen out. He's got more coming behind it. And this actually looks like it might turn into a really good fight for GiveUAnxiety at the end of the day.
It's a beautiful fight indeed for GiveUAnxiety. I love how he's using the horsemen to just absorb the arrow fire. He really isn't charging in, because he knows exactly the spearmen can kill those horsemen very easily. But if you just retreat here for Artie, some of those arrows will hit the horsemen, and they barely do any damage here, because those horsemen already have 3 ranged armor. So that is basically a slaughter here, and those archers will be able to pick off those retreating longbows. Artie has to scramble for defense here, because suddenly his entire army got destroyed.
Yeah, this is a very tough situation for him. That being said, though, I mean, GiveUAnxiety, he's got a lot of momentum behind this push, but that momentum might be slowed pretty soon as his berries are about to run out, and those villagers have got a long way to walk to get to the next group of berries or hunts. So his reinforcements might be slowed down a bit, and that might give Artie just a little bit of breathing room. But yeah, Artie's definitely got to be thinking about how he's got to get back into this game. It might just be like holing up and turtling and trying to gain some other advantage or take a good fight when GiveUAnxiety finally pushes him.
The fact that GiveUAnxiety has both of his hunts very close to each other actually is very helpful here, because he can just mill this, and he can focus all his military efforts on the right side, and you see that he is hungry. That is 33 villagers moving out on those deers. He's even dropping a second mill because he's got that on a discount, and behind this, some knights also charge into the eco of Artie, unable to inflict damage, but once again, they're making sure that Artie has to pay attention to those farmers, because otherwise GiveUA will get some kills. Currently, 44 villagers for GiveUAnxiety, 36 only for Artie, so there were some kills here by the knights, and of course the faster working French town center also comes into play.
Yeah, very clean play from GiveUAnxiety so far. It's just done well to keep control of the game, figure out what Artie is up to at all times, even like trying to harass with just one horseman on the front of the base there, as it does escape as well with a couple of hit points remaining. And yeah, also secured this hunt with the 2 towers. He's looking to be in a good spot. Gathering enough gold now, looks like he's potentially going to even follow this up with a castle age, rather than any kind of rams or anything like that.
It very much seems like it indeed. He has not gotten survival techniques, which is an upgrade that he could have easily gotten given the fact that he's so invested into this hunting operation. But instead, as you said, he's going up to Castle Age, likely with the Guild Hall. Indeed, that is going to be the building of choice. And this is where things could get concerning for Artie, because Artie is very far away from Castle Age here. Despite the fact that he's got a very well-established food eco, now he's getting horticulture. The problem for him is that his army will soon become obsolete once his opponent gets to Castle Age.
Yeah, it's a tough situation for him. He would have liked to be following GiveUAnxiety up to the next stage right now for sure, but he didn't have a scout. He didn't know what GiveUAnxiety was doing. He just lost his whole army, and he felt like, yeah, he needed to invest into more units in order to make sure he didn't die. But it seems that he's sensed that there might be an age-up going on now, as GiveUAnxiety has not pushed his advantage after winning that fight. And so Artie's trying to take an opportunity here, try to push during this window of time, and if he can find the villagers on the hunt, he might get potentially a good trade that could get him back in this game.
He needs to find those villagers on the hunt, because if you look at the food eco and the income per minute, that is a massive advantage for GiveUAnxiety. Once GiveUA runs out of hunt and berries, the English farming will take over, but as long as GiveUAnxiety has hunt, the English farming can't give an advantage to Artie. Now Artie is moving up, but it might be just a little too late, because upgrades are already coming in here for GiveUAnxiety in Castle Age. The hunt has been abandoned, and I think GiveUAnxiety is looking to isolate this army and then get a surround with a Castle Age force of his.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah, he's abandoned the hunt, as you said, so he's going to be forced into making mangonels probably deal with this, as he doesn't have any food to really make any units. He doesn't really even have the food to upgrade all of his units at the moment, but one mangonel will do wonders here, probably get him back onto that hunt, as Artie just chases down these 2 vills into the corner of the map.
That's actually a good distraction for GiveUAnxiety, because if you think about it, 2 villagers is something he can sacrifice. He's got a fairly decent villager lead, and that buys him a lot of time. He doesn't have a market to balance his econ. As you said, he's very low on food. He's actually gotten the Veteran Knight upgrade, which is a little surprising given the fact that he only has 2 knights out here. Villagers in the end will get picked off, but This forced Donati to move all the way to the top corner of the map, so that bought a lot of time for GiveUAnxiety here to get the upgrades, who is currently 39 on wood, only 30 food per minute as an income, perfectly balanced as all things should be.
Yep, he does have 2 mangonels in queue though with that macro, so putting it to good use. And we'll see if he chooses to push with the first mangonel, or if he chooses to wait for the second, maybe wait until he can get some more upgrades going. But I don't think he's in any rush, really, to push this game right now. As I'm sure he's well aware with that French eco bonus, he's got that slight economic lead, and he can afford to wait just a little bit before pushing. Still doing good with the raids as well.
Yep, he gets a villager on the farming eco of Donati, and those are small things, but they add up over time. And you could also see for a brief moment that he saw Donati retreating. So he knows exactly that Donati went all the way back to his base, so he can move out with his villagers. And as you said, once he gets the Castle Age upgrades, it's a completely different story. On the other hand, Donati is also playing this one safe. He's going up to Castle Age, and once he gets up to Castle Age, suddenly that force once again looks a little scary. Although, as you said, against multiple mangonels, it's going to be very difficult to micro them. And with 2 town centers for the English, he can slowly start taking over in terms of economy. So now Donati is the one that has to play defensive here and just basically wait until GUA runs out of hunt, because then his farming eco is going to take over so much.
Yeah, that's right. But unfortunately for him, I think this push is probably going to come before the hunt runs out. GiveUAnxiety could even choose to grab like 1 or 2 of these boars, as they are kind of close by and kind of on the way. His army could probably easily defend that, and the King's Palace will take some time to pay off, and it's also quite low hit points and quite in an exposed position. And if GiveUAnxiety pushes, he could potentially even just kill that landmark before Donati really has anything to deal with the mangonels.
Donati sees the army approaching over here as he loses a tower in the middle. And he also knows there is 2 mangonels, currently has nothing that can fight those mangonels. Even with great micro, going up against 2 mangonels plus all those forces with just longbows and spearmen feels like a suicide. So he desperately needs a couple of springboards here potentially, as he's grabbing the veteran spearman and longbow upgrade right now. Horseman already in front of his base though, and as you said, he might not have the window to grab all the upgrades he needs before taking this fight.
Yep, there's also no siege workshop or anything down for Donati, so he's not going to be building any springels to defend against these mangonels. But his army is taking a bit of a detour, not going to be defending that King's Palace, actually. In fact, he's just going to completely abandon that as the villagers make a run for it, and he's going to try to go for a counterattack himself on this very exposed gold mine from GiveUAnxiety.
Ooh, no risk it, no biscuit, but that's a lot of villagers. Nice reaction from GiveUAnxiety though, and this could be life-saving for him. He's going to lose a few, but had he not noticed this, he would have lost 10-15 villagers here. Instead, I think losing 3 or 4 is completely fine over here, given the fact that he's also killing quite a lot from Donati. Donati losing the King's Palace over here. Looks like GUA will retreat, and he will now try to force an engagement on that group of infantry on the left.
Yeah, definitely successful in diverting the pressure away from his base. But yeah, losing the King's Palace is big. That's going to pretty much for the time being cement GiveUAnxiety's economic lead, unless he manages to repair that or construct a new town center. So Donati's definitely still on the back foot. It was a good play to get himself, to buy himself some more time. But now he really has to figure out what to do with that. He does have a siege workshop up now. But no villagers on gold at the moment, so not going to be easy for him to get out those much-needed springels. Oh, sorry, he does actually have vills on gold on the south part of his base.
Yeah, GiveUAnxiety also had some gold control issues for a brief moment. As you see, Donati is getting a tower up on the left side, so he wants to see if GOE moves out for that gold mine. And in the meanwhile, that army is moving all the way to the southern corner now, desperately trying to evade that force of mangonels. Looks like they might be able to get back home, and as you said, there's already a siege workshop, so springolds are coming in. There are a couple of cavalry units here for GiveUAnxiety, so technically he can snipe 1 or 2 springolds, but probably his best choice is just to add his own springolds, and that's exactly what he's doing right now.
Yep, that's a smart decision from him. Kind of recognizing that Donati doesn't have any way of making cavalry himself, as far as he knows, anyway. And the thing that makes the most sense to deal with these mangonels at the moment is springolds. So preemptively making his own springolds is going to help him protect those mangonels. And yeah, now pushing onto the wood line, forcing all these villagers back, and those nice wood lines we were talking about earlier in the game for Artie, now he doesn't really have anywhere to go that feels very safe, as he doesn't have anything in the back of his base.
Some men-at-arms hit the field here for Artie, but here come the Springolds. This is gonna be a crucial micro here by both sides. Springolds opening up against each other. Mangonels so far doing work, and it looks like neither side is losing Springolds just yet. GiveUAnxiety is gonna get forced back, but as you said, given the fact that he's got like a 10-12 villagers lead, he doesn't need to reach beyond his capabilities. Just make sure that he controls the map. As you said, he also has the boar, so he's got a ton of food to work with, a lot of map control. There is really no need for him to charge deep into the base of Artie and risk losing his army.
That's right. Have you seen his boar right now?
Yeah, I've seen that. It's a returning issue for him. His gold miners were also walking very far for a long time, so I've seen worse. Trust me, I've seen worse.
Yeah, just forgetting to build the mill there. Probably maybe didn't have the wood at the moment, or something like that. But I'm sure he'll correct that soon. But yeah, for the time being, looking to be in a very good position with that villager lead. Just maneuvering around the base, trying to find a good position to harass, trying to make sure that the villagers are always on their toes. And Springold's trading here. Good volley for Artie there. Looks like he got a Springold for free, and we'll be able to repair that half HP one. And yeah, that's just a free Springold for him. Probably not quite enough to keep him to get him back into the game just yet, but those are the trades he needs to potentially get back into it for sure.
Exactly. As you see, you're going to have some knights moving in on the left side, though, and this is where the mobility aspect of the French comes into play. Those villagers are just sitting ducks over there, ready to be slaughtered by the French knights. That is at least 5-6 villagers being taken down, and on the right side, you also had an attempt with some horsemen to do some raiding damage. So, suddenly, GiveUAnxiety is realizing that even just a handful of cavalry forces could be great to do some damage and just widen that villager gap even more. 70 villagers for him right now. Artie is sitting at 55, but the King's Palace is back in action for the time being.
Yeah, about to finish up that repair, so he'll be able to start gaining some economy. And I mean, even though Artie is behind in terms of economy, it is still very hard to push in here for sure with that strong network of castles bonus, even affecting his Springolds and stuff like that. So even though he is behind an army and his military is maybe a little bit worse, just as long as he can stay within the network of castles, GiveUAnxiety does have to be a little bit hesitant about pushing that. But yeah, he's doing a great job with these raids, just playing patiently, kind of trying to build his military advantage. And yeah, but soon he's going to have to make that farm transition, and that is going to be quite expensive, and that could potentially get Artie back into the game.
Indeed. Part of the reason why Artie didn't have that many resources to spend on army is because he has invested into farms, and now that's a juggernaut food eco for him, and it's basically infinite food. Once he gets to Imperial Age, he's going to get the enclosures upgrades, so he's going to have a great gold income as well. Speaking of which, GiveUAnxiety is definitely playing a gold control game here. He's been raiding the gold mine on the left side, and he's got one scout on the one on the right side, so he just needs to see and wants to see when Artie moves out for additional gold mines, but many of those lumberjacks are heavily damaged, so this charge of the knights once again yields free kills. And slowly but surely, GiveUAnxiety is building up a massive eco lead here, because those villager casualties seem to be too big now for Artie. 54 villagers for him, 76 for GiveUAnxiety.
Yep, those raids definitely, as you say, like they don't do much in the moment, but they add up over time, and we're really starting to see that now. And yeah, I still feel like, though, GiveUAnxiety does have to try and do something pretty soon, as he does have to make that farm transition. And even though he does have that villager lead, most of the extra income from the extra 20 vills is going to have to go into farms. Although now, with the map control, he is also starting to grab those relics, so that will kind of help grow that lead even more quickly, and also make sure that he doesn't need to switch to trade as early later in the game and stuff like that. But looks like Artie pushing across the map. Roughly equal number of Springolds here. One extra for GiveUAnxiety, and that's going to be enough for Artie to have to probably back on out of here.
Indeed, Springles trading shots in the middle. We also have some Arbaletria mixed in, which if they deploy the Pavise, they'll be able to absorb a lot of arrow fire, and they are much needed against the Men-at-Arms as well. As you said, the Springles will push back the forces of Donardi, and now the Mangonels have the chance to open up on all that infantry. Donardi isn't able to push GiveUAnxiety right now because his forces are unable to deal with the Mangonels as of yet.
Yeah, and he's really lacking that mobility. Still no stables from him at all. He's really investing into those man-at-arms, which, of course, are quite strong with the English with the extra 2 armor. And he is sending them off to do a little bit of a raid, it looks like. Maybe going to go check those berries, or maybe check the gold mine at the top here. He did have a tower on the gold mine on the left side of the map, so he might expect that GiveUAnxiety had gone to the large gold mine over here instead.
Well, he's gonna be disappointed because there is no one there just yet. However, they could still hit the berry villagers here, and as you said, this is where GiveUAnxiety hits that roadblock that he's going to have to start adding a lot of farms here. He already has a decent amount of them going, and his food eco is still fine because he still has some access to that boar, but that boar is almost depleted as well. The good news for him is that, as you said, he's starting to collect relics here, and of course, he already started adding farms. Given the fact that he's currently at 83 villas as opposed to 67, I think, unless Donardi pushes in the next couple of minutes, he's gonna have the time to build up his farming eco. Men-at-Arms will get picked off on the right side. I think they only killed 1 villager or so here, so not a ton of damage done by those.
Yeah, thankfully, though, he didn't commit all of his men-at-arms to that. Just committed a few, kept a few in reserve, just to see what was going on, so he'll have those men-at-arms in the back, still alive, and he'll be able to use those maybe to go back for another raid later in the game.
GiveUAnxiety is also gonna spot the other army coming in on the left side, and while Donardi's eco isn't spectacular, we have to shout out his army because that's a scary force of 87 units. Some knights on the right side trying to do some damage for GUA, might be able to get a couple of veil kills here because there is no one home really, just a couple of men-at-arms here trying to chase those knights, as most of the forces for Donardi are on the far left. And then the men-at-arms jump on the gold miners up north as well. Suddenly, GiveUAnxiety's army that's like one big cluster of units is struggling to keep control over multiple sides of the map.
Yeah, it almost feels like GiveUAnxiety kind of like let his foot off the gas a little bit too soon and needed to keep applying more pressure to prevent Donardi from feeling comfortable leaving his base. And yeah, as you said, like the army is looking pretty scary. There's going to be 8 villagers going down here. And really, the only problem left for Donardi, like, yes, he has, like, a small villager deficit, but he's going to be slowly closing that with the extra town center. And as long as he can deal with the mangonels, honestly, he is looking pretty strong.
Indeed, he's looking pretty strong, and I feel like if Donardi is able to deal with those mangonels, then he's going to have no trouble holding this up, but we might be coming in with a big battle in here. That is 95 army on the battlefield for Donardi. 104 military population for GiveUAnxiety. Someone's going to lose a lot of units here today.
Yeah, it looks like we're building up to a potentially decisive fight as the mangonels push in here. The tower spots it. I mean, if he takes out this tower, Donardi's probably going to just have to back up as he won't have the network of castles near to this fight. But he might just choose to go in right now as the men-at-arms go in. But I don't know if they can reach the mangonels here, and this could potentially be a really good fight for GiveUAnxiety with these mangonels as he's taking really good shots on the men-at-arms and the spearmen. Even starting to aim at the longbows in the back. There's no spread formation here for GiveUAnxiety to try and mitigate that damage, and a ton of longbows go down to the mangonel.
That's a slaughter. That's an absolute slaughter out there. That was a narrow choke point where the men-at-arms tried to push through. Crossbows, mangonels were shooting at them, and then, as you said, no spread formation for Donardi. His longbows were taking so massive hits from the mangonels, and the big thing, all 3 of those mangonels survived. The men-at-arms weren't able to reach them, and there were just no springles to take them down. As I said, someone's gonna lose a lot of units, and it's still 100 military population for GiveUAnxiety. He basically lost nothing, and on the other side, only 45 for Donardi. His army got massacred, and now, on the left side, sharing is caring, as they are splitting that gold mine in half. But soon, those red villagers will be very disappointed.
Yeah, those villagers are gonna have to run. Yeah, just a little bit too impatient for Donardi. Like, the army here was really scary for GiveUAnxiety, and Donardi was certainly feeling the pressure, but there wasn't a lot of siege here. Like, those archers and crossbows aren't very good against buildings, the springles aren't very good against buildings, and mangonels are okay against buildings, but he would have had the time to maybe wait for a better position, wait for some more units, but unfortunately he just went right away, and sort of got punished for it. And yeah, all those villagers going down to the knights on the left side of the map, and yeah, this is looking like GiveUAnxiety's game to lose at this point.
He's coming in, he's about to start taking down that siege workshop as well, which would make it very difficult to replenish the springolds for Donarty. Donarty not even having any springolds right now for him. He's adding some more mat arms and a big stable transition coming in. That could be the saving grace, but I don't like the fact that he's going knights here. Just look at the amount of arbalestry on the battlefield. 49 arbalestry and 15 archers. And the newly buffed horseman would be the perfect solution here. Not a single spearman, just a handful of archers and a ton of arbalestry. Of course, arbalestry with the Gambeson's upgrade would still survive a lot against the horsemen, but the knights are basically countered directly by the arbalestry, so it's a bit of a surprising choice for Donarty to go for those instead of horsemen.
Yeah, that is a little bit weird. Maybe he just felt like it was the best way to invest his gold at the moment, or maybe he plans to do some raiding with them or something. But yeah, it definitely seems like horsemen would have been the better choice with all these crossbows in the mix. And, I mean, not even just the crossbows, but, like, knights also, like, they have the exact same torch damage against siege as horsemen do. And trading knights instead of horsemen for double the cost just means you have, like, half as much damage against those mangonels.
Currently, Donarty is playing this one patiently. You said that before he felt a little impatient. Now he's going to wait until he's got a fairly sizable force to fight with, but he's also losing houses, and as you see, on the left side of his base, that's at least 10 dead houses, and now he's constantly popcat because of that, and that's going to be an annoyance. That's going to slow down his addition of knights, and of course that buys time for GiveUAnxiety to push deeper into his base. Behind this one, GUA is also capping the sacred sites. He does have a couple of relics working for him already too, so really, Donarty needs to make something happen here with that counterattack of the knights to try and buy himself some time to rebuild.
Yeah, has to be really careful with his army here too. Really good shots from the Mangonel and the knights there, almost taking out all of them. And yeah, this is not looking good so far. Looks like he's gonna send those knights to try and hit that gold mine on the top, but once again he's gonna be disappointed as there's no villagers down up there, and gonna use one villager to decap this sacred site. But GiveUAnxiety up to Imperial Age now. Really looking to push his advantage. Surprised that he's really sending everything back to deal with these 4 low HP knights. And all his siege is not moving, it's exposed. If Donarty potentially finds that, could be good, but it looks like it is moving now. There's not a lot of cavalry in position to catch that anyway.
These Red Knights really wanted to make something happen. They wanted to be the heroes, but it's gonna be a very short-lived effort here. There's just way too many arbalestry to deal with, 52 to be precise. Now with the extra melee armor as well. And as you said, GiveUAnxiety being in Imperial Age opens up a whole lot of new dimensions for him. We could see some hand cannoneers being mixed in, or we could just see the fully upgraded elite knights for the French, because those are gonna be just juggernauts on the battlefield, and given the fact that we have a ton of stables out there, that's a possibility. But also, mass horsemen in Imperial Age could also be an idea, simply because we're slowly depleting the gold accessible on the map. Cast on the left side will protect that gold mine, and now GUA is going for that stone on the right side as well.
Yeah, this is a very nice keep, protecting so many resources. Not directly protecting the stone, but it will give those villagers somewhere to retreat. But at the moment, not a bad raid for Donarty at all, as GiveUAnxiety is not quite noticing that all these villagers are... Well, he only moved some of the villagers, I guess, because there's only 15 garrison slots. He's going to let those die, and this is actually an amazing raid for Donarty at this point.
It is a spectacular raid indeed. We are talking about 10 plus dead villagers over here. But here come the Mangonels, and Donarty has to be very careful. Mangonel shot will not come out. Mangonel gets taken down just before that happens. Arbalestry, though, now with the elite upgrades. This keep, Donarty is trying to keep it alive as long as possible. A boiling oil, almost completed, and once you have that, those knights will get slaughtered underneath the castle. Looks like GUA will hold this one with the forces appearing on the battlefield for him. The Mangonels are a little lagging behind, but once they get there, oh boy, it's gotta be a scary force. 6 Mangonels. How do you even stop that with just an infantry?
Yeah, that is very scary for sure. Oh my god, have you seen GiveUAnxiety's eco count? It's only 53, but again, that doesn't matter as this army is pushing in here, and as you said, there's no answer to the Mangonels, but Donarty has secured the economic lead, so all he has to do is hold on here, and there's not a lot of anti-building here. The Mangonels will take some time to take down these buildings, and Don Artie maybe has some slim chance now of getting back into the game with that 30 villager lead.
Yep. If he can take down a Mangonels or a couple of Springholes, then technically he has a good chance, because the Arbalest won't perform that well against the Longbowman, but this is a very difficult situation for him to be in, because he's got the eco lead, but as you said, even though the Mangonels aren't spectacular against buildings, you can make battering rams. And GiveUAnxiety, of course, having multiple French town centers, the moment he started losing vills, he's adding 2 more town centers, so he knows exactly that he needs to rebuild this fast. 58 villagers currently against 88, but of course, Don Artie is gonna have to soon pull villagers from those farms, because those will be exposed to aggression.
Yeah, we've got to remember too that Don Artie is still in the Castle Age, so these are elite crossbows that he has to deal with as well, and he's got mostly knights and men-at-arms. It's not quite what you want against crossbows here, but looks like he's going to try to go in. The choke point here with the Council Hall, really good for the Mangonels. Some really nice shots going to be coming in here. Getting a little bit distracted by the villagers, but I mean, I guess killing the villagers is going to prevent him from losing those Mangonels. And yeah, looking to be like a really solid fight for GiveUAnxiety.
That's a beautiful fight. Those choke points are helping the Mangonels so much. At this point, he knows exactly he was gonna lose a couple of Mangonels, but it's all about taking down as much with him as possible. You see, every single villager from Don Artie is pulled to kill those Mangonels. There's still 3 of them out there. The longbows are getting slaughtered, the villagers are getting slaughtered. Don Artie is at 0 population, and he taps out. He really pulled everything to stop that, but that was just way too much firepower to deal with. 6 Mangonels slaughtering everything out there. I'm actually curious how the timeline looks like in the end.
Just straight down.
Oh yeah, it's like, if you commit to a fight, you gotta commit to it, that's for sure, and he did that.
Yeah, he knew it was his last chance. If he'd somehow won that fight, maybe there's a chance.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 2 in this best of 3 between GiveUAnxiety and Don Artie. With me is Mitoe, and we're going to Lipany, the first home map of Don Artie. On the right side is Don Artie playing as the Rus in blue, and on the left side is GiveUAnxiety playing as the Red English.
Yep, looks like going to be a pretty standard opening for both players as well. GiveUAnxiety just going straight for that mining camp and the sheep. Going to be rushing that age up as usual, as we've come to expect from English. And Don Artie just going to be grabbing that hunting cabin on the wood line. Going to be training some scouts, trying to collect that bounty. And yeah, just looking at the map spawn here, not doesn't look like it's favoring anyone too much, but the hunts are in front for Don Artie, and with the early longbow aggression and the new nerfed professional scouts, it could be a little bit easier for GiveUAnxiety to potentially deny those hunts if he identifies that early enough.
Especially if you also consider the position of these cliffs and forests. On the north, it's like one big hill that's blocking a lot of space, and that basically means that if you want to move out with your army or your professional scouts to take the opponent's hunt instead, you also have to move through this choke point in the middle. The choke point also has some stealth forests inside, so that's very good for ambushes. And as we could see, we have a second scout out for GiveUAnxiety. That's pretty standard from what we have seen so far from players. If you're up against Rus, you add a second scout in Dark Age so you can contest those huntables. And so far, GOA is doing a great job with that, because Don Artie is only at 50 bounty. GOA already killed 2 of his own patches of huntables, and he's the one starting off with the ones from Don Artie. Don Artie might be stuck at like 150 bounty here at this pace.
Yeah, it's possible. He'll have to try and find some wolves probably to finish off the rest of that tier 2. Yeah, GiveUAnxiety doing a really good job getting onto the 3rd hunt now. And yeah, that's looking like a great start for English.
Speaking of wolves, there is going to be a couple. So he's at 120. He's going to find another one up north. That's 145. And one more down here. Actually, 2 more. So despite the fact that he's pretty much going to lose all the deer when it comes to the bounty, he was able to find the majority of the wolves. And that's going to be a saving grace, because as we take a look, although GiveUAnxiety is nearby, so he could try to take down that wolf, but it's very difficult to kill a wolf from the back of the opponent's scout, because what Donati would just do is wait until you take it down to one shot, and then you turn back and shoot it. So Donati is likely going to have 3 more wolves here for a combined 75 gold on the bounty. But the most important thing is that he wasn't able to get to that tier 2 bounty, so he's not going to have that plus 10% food harvest rate, just plus 5%.
Yeah, he should still be able to get it at some point. The boar is worth 75 gold, so he'll probably just have to prioritize that at some point in Feudal Age, and that will push him over into that tier 2. But yeah, very, very nice start for GiveUAnxiety. It's not too huge, but it is going to make it more difficult for Artie to afford something like Professional Scouts when he gets to the next age with that less gold, and of course the 5% gather rate is nothing to scoff at either.
Speaking of which, as you see, it's gonna be just enough gold for Artie to afford Professional Scouts. Once he makes one transaction on the Golden Gate, he's gonna need to sell 100 food probably, or 100 wood, depending on how much wood he's gonna have. If he has enough for Professional Scouts, which he probably will, then he's just going to sell 100 of that and grab Professional Scouts. So he's gonna have enough gold for that. But as you said before, those hunts are disturbingly open and just could be pressured so easily by longbows, and that's exactly what we're seeing over here. GiveUAnxiety opening with the longbowman. Could also see a couple of spearmen hit the field quite fast, because, as you said, those scouts are slow, and the spearmen can catch them when they're carrying carcasses.
Yeah, so we'll see as Darnardy clicks up to the next stage here, whether he does choose to go for Professional Scouts or not, or if he maybe just opens with a stable and uses that gold on some knights or something like that. But yeah, if he does go for Professional Scouts, he's gonna have to think about how he's gonna keep those scouts safe, or maybe he tries to get sneaky and takes some of the hunt from the back of GiveUAnxiety's base and takes the long trek around the map. But yeah, the first longbow moving into the stealth forest. I'm gonna be looking for any trouble it can cause.
Looking at the base of GiveUAnxiety, it looks like we see no spearmen coming in for him, so that's probably the best case scenario for Artie, because just a handful of longbows don't perform that well against the scouts. You need a little bit more than that to kill just the scouts, and as things stand, we're going to see some archers opening here for Artie. As you said, with the Rus Fast Castle nerfed quite heavily, and given the fact that his hunts are so open, so it's going to be difficult to ferry those in, it's very likely that we're going to see a little bit more feudal aggression from him, and that's going to be in the form of archers. The problem that he's facing right now is that the English will love to see when their opponent goes for archers, because the English are probably the better civilization in archer wars.
Yeah, well, on the other hand, this makes some sense, as you said. Like, it seems like he's not going for Professional Scouts, so he's going for the least food-heavy unit, so that's going to help him a little bit there. But also, like, yes, English do have the longbow, but Rus have, like, the better economy early on, and if you can outmass English with archers, the longbows are slower, so if you have a better mass, you can potentially just chase them down and kill them all. So yes, there is a little bit of opportunity there with this archer play from Artie for sure.
That's a very good point. Something that's often overlooked is the fact that the archers have 1.25 tiles per speed movements, whereas the longbows only have 1.12. So while the longbows have higher damage output and higher range, they are slower than the archers. As you said, the archers can potentially chase them down. I would love to see a couple of horsemen, though, from Artie, because those could be really good at soaking up some arrow fire from the longbows. For now, the longbows are just playing the food denial game, but as you said, early on the Rus will have a good food eco as well. But as we are speaking, Artie is running out of food underneath his town center, and that's something that GUA will be aware of. And if I look at the berry spots, those look very underwhelming as well.
Is very exposed. He will be able to maybe compensate a little bit for the lack of food with the Golden Gate. He can continue buying food with this gold he has a little bit, so that she'll buy him a little bit more time. But yeah, I mean, the sheep are quickly being exhausted, and he is going to have to expose his villagers a little bit more fairly soon, and he's going to have to hope that he has enough archers at that point. Yeah, so we'll have to see how that plays out. At the moment, it looks like 12 archers, 13 archers for Artie, and 11 or 12 longbows for GiveUAnxiety. He's got a few more waiting in this stealth forest, and a couple villagers coming forward to now start constructing that tower. The network of castles would be a huge benefit here in this archer battle.
Precisely. And when you have that tower up out there, it's going to be a very difficult position to push for Artie. And those lumberjacks would be very exposed to the longbowman. You see, GiveUAnxiety is also very active with the 2 scouts he has left. He has one on the north looking at whether or not Artie is moving towards that gold mine that is technically safer than the one in front of his base. And then there is one scout on the right side that is just chilling out and seeing if the opponent is moving to the other gold mines. And you see, a hunting cabin has to be placed on the berries. This is something that the Rus like to avoid, because their hunting cabin is quite expensive. It's 100 wood, so you don't really want to place it on berries unless absolutely necessary. But it looks like here we go with the fight. Before that tower goes up, Artie has to take this engagement, but it might be already a little too late. Or is it?
Yeah, if you can get these 2 villagers down before the tower goes up, he could potentially be in an okay position here. And yeah, it looks like he does get both the vills, the tower gets denied. And
yeah, that's a great fight.
Actually isn't a bad fight, but there's still more longbows than archers here, I think, and GiveUAnxiety is doing a good job of not shooting the scouts here. Yeah, it's pretty even.
Yeah, it's kind of close. And Artie, as you said, he's got the faster moving archers. He can reinforce this battle a lot faster than his opponent, because those longbows take a lot of time for GiveUAnxiety to arrive, and slowly but surely Artie is pushing his opponent back. And as you said, because the Rus have a much better early eco, the English is the civilization that has to push this one. So, sort of even fight here in which Artie secures some more freedom for himself is something that he has to be happy with. And despite the fact that those longbows were focusing down the archers, slowly but surely the longbow mass disappears, whereas the archers just keep coming in.
Yeah, it's still close though. Like there's still longbows coming in. It looks like the scouts are the thing that's making the difference here, despite their low damage. But yeah, I mean, it looks like Artie might just be running out of steam a little bit here, and yeah, he's going to be forced to back up. GiveUAnxiety can send some vills soon to maybe finish off that tower. It's super close to completion, and now Artie's got some problems with this really exposed food, and he's kind of fallen behind on the archer count now. It's looking tricky.
And that food being exposed is quite troublesome, because now we're seeing GiveUAnxiety add villagers on the hunt, and that's basically where the eco advantage for the Rus would start disappearing. As you see, the income per minute, right now it's better for Artie, but soon that food income is going to be better for GiveUAnxiety, and if that tower goes up, all of those lumberjacks will be denied, and that's a wood line that's empowered by a tower as well, so if you move to the other one, you won't have the boost from the wooden fortress.
That's right. He does have the wood to replace that wooden fortress, but yeah, it's not something you want to do, and yeah, GiveUAnxiety can just poke away at these berries now, and there's really just nothing for Artie to fall back to. He's got to really hole up in his base and maybe try to secure the berries on the far right, or start transitioning to farms or something like that. It looks like Artie's actually going for a town center, which is, I guess that's an option. If you're not ever going to be able to leave your base, you might as well just use the town center. It does help you defend a little bit, and maybe he can somehow get an economic lead that way and get himself back into the game. And yeah, it looks like he is going to be going over for the berries on the right side.
That's quite risky, but if you consider the fact that the opponent's army is very slow moving, it's something you can justify. If you were up against French here, that would be way too risky, because just a couple of knights would slaughter you. But against longbows, this is something that you can accept, and he's going to have basically all his food eco move to the right side. 2 town centers with the Rus, that's actually the old school way of playing with the Golden Gate. So before the Rus Fast Castle build, the most common build with Rus was 2 town centers, because you can buy 300 stone you need using the Golden Gate in 2 transactions, so only 200 gold is the cost. That's actually one of the easiest ways to acquire stone for an additional town center, as Artie might lose 1 scout up north, as GiveUAnxiety will try to push that wood line as well with the tower.
Yeah, I would really like to see some palisades on the north or something for him as well, just to prevent these villagers, after they finish this tower, they could go around to build another tower on the top. And this is just looking like a really tough spot for Artie at this point, as this wood line is going to be really hard to defend once this goes up. But that said, he has a surprising number of archers here. He's going to at least be able to deny that tower for the time being.
And GiveUAnxiety was retreating. He actually backed out of the influence radius of the first tower, so he had Network of Castles bonus for some time, but now he's out of that. He kind of needs to fall back to that, but of course he's trying to hold on to those villagers. And this fight is suspiciously similar to the first one that we saw. Archers slowly grinding down those numbers, and the villagers will have to take the long way back home here. That palisade will prevent the archers from pushing deeper though. As things stand, 43 villagers for Don Artie, 39 for GiveUAnxiety. So small eco lead out here. On the other hand, we have to consider that there is also a lot of hunt to work with for GiveUAnxiety, so his food eco is a lot more reliable. And once those bears are depleted, which isn't going to be something that happens in 20 minutes, more like 2, suddenly Don Artie's food income is going to be quite troublesome as well.
Yeah, that was a great fight for him though. He had both the blacksmith upgrades on his archers in that fight, the damage and the armor, whereas GiveUAnxiety is only just about to finish the damage on his longbows, and that definitely gave him the edge there. And yeah, just looking not too bad for him all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's looking great. He intercepts the longbows on the right side, and he's using that mobility advantage on those archers so well, isolating small groups of longbows. Those longbows would have been devastating had they gone to the right side and killed the better villagers, but instead, they will get intercepted, and if you look at the KDs now, it's kind of even, but you get the feel that Don Artie has been taking slightly better engagements. A barracks is up now, and there is something that the Rus will have a tough time countering here, and that is going to be the men-at-arms, and now the longbows moving on the north as well, picking off a couple of villagers here. So really, GiveUAnxiety is doing a great job harassing his opponent, and just not letting him boom up with those 2 town centers.
Yeah, and you're mentioning the men-at-arms, but there's something Rus has access to that it looks like Don Artie might be considering a transition to. He's dropping a mining camp now on his gold, and knights do very well against men-at-arms, and if he drops down a couple stables in a moment here, he would have a pretty good option against them, but that also could just be for an age-up. We'll have to wait and see what he chooses to do with that gold. Yeah, GiveUAnxiety has to come up with a way to break in and punish this town center, but it's going to be difficult. He's not quite got the economy behind it at this point. And yeah, professional scouts is actually now in for Don Artie as well, so he's not going to have to be building many more farms, and looking really good now.
Yep, those couple of carcasses will definitely help, and GiveUAnxiety's tower is unable to see the gold miners, so even if he had the army to push this one, he doesn't even know that his opponent is mining gold, and that's a big thing here, because as you said, Feudal Age Knights would be a pretty decent response to the men-at-arms. Of course, English could still mix in Spearmen, but instead we're seeing something completely different. Siege Engineering for Don Artie, so looks like he just wants to play very heavy on the archer department and potentially even launch a counterattack, get some rams going and try to take down that outpost so that he can secure those carcasses.
Yeah, I'm wondering what this gold is for. I suppose he could use it to trade at the Golden Gate, or maybe start grabbing some eco-techs. But like, he doesn't really need it for blacksmith or anything, and he doesn't really need it for rams or building any of these archers. So it'll be interesting to see what he spends that on.
Could be Castle Age. If we look at his resource bank, it's 450 food now, 460 gold, and he's got quite a lot of Golden Gate transactions available. So this could be the reverse way of playing Golden Gate. Instead of selling, he's going to buy the food, but on the north, oh boy, the longbows do move in, and that's going to be quite a lot of dead villagers out there. Don Artie not even pulling the villagers from the lumberjacks up until now. The tower was delayed, and now it's, I think, 6 villagers dead over there. That's going to be quite a significant dip in the villager count. Indeed, Don Artie still only has 5 villagers lead over his opponent, mostly because of those casualties suffered there.
Yeah, that's definitely a great raid for him. But it looks like this gold is going to be a night transition. 3 stables going down on the right side of Don Artie's base. And yeah, it looks like that, combined with that siege engineering, he is gearing up for a push at some point here. Probably after he manages to get out like 3 or 4 knights or something like that. And that'll be pretty good against the man-at-arms here. But I mean, GiveUAnxiety could mix in a few spearmen, but at the moment he just doesn't know that there's a stable out. So the knights could catch him off guard here.
But he now sees the gold miners, so he should start suspecting something is wrong. He gets 2 villagers, 3 villagers, maybe even a 4th one out there. And he also spotted the scouts ferrying in the carcasses, so he has to realize something is going on here. Especially because, as you said, if you just think that your opponent is going full archers, there is no point mining gold that heavily. So he has to know that something else is coming his way. Let's see his reaction. Not a single spearman coming in though, so there's a chance for those knights to jump in that force, but there's only 2 of them right now on the battlefield. A premature fight potentially here for Don Artie.
Yeah, his army is not too spectacular here. He does have a lot of archers, but yeah, the men-at-arms are going to be a problem. He's got knights in queue behind this though, and they might actually be just enough when as reinforcements in the next few seconds here. We'll have to see how it plays out. Doing a good job of trying to focus down the longbows instead of those men-at-arms as, yeah, here come the reinforcing knights.
This is actually a very good fight here for Donati. It seemed like it was going to be premature, and it probably could have been better had he had a little more time to mass just 3-4 more knights. But really, GiveUAnxiety didn't expect all those knights to appear on the battlefield, and now he's paying the price because he's losing a lot of longbowmen out here. And his opponent already has the siege upgrade, so Donati could launch a push with siege into his base the moment he secures the majority of the map control. Longbows focusing down the archers here, and that's going to get a window for GiveUAnxiety to get some spearmen on the battlefield though, because with basically no archers on the battlefield for Donati, the spearmen will perform quite nicely against those knights, and this is where the free hardened spearman upgrade for the English comes into play. Not needing to research that in such a crucial moment is definitely something that's a saving grace.
Yeah, really getting a great trade against the longbows now, and now with 2 town centers, finally being able to pull ahead after losing those vills to the raids, looking to be in a really good spot. There are some infantry coming from the north side, kind of flanking here, and probably going to clean up the rest of Donardi's army, but don't know if GiveUAnxiety is going to really have enough to push in here. Actually, that being said, Donardi doesn't have any food left. He's got all of his vills moving back to wood, so maybe there is a little bit of an opportunity here.
He's got a big farming eco set up on the right side, but he probably was planning to take those carcasses from underneath that tower, but that wasn't really a thing that materialized. And this is the big problem for him right now. He lost most of the archers. And without the archers, the spearmen will just massacre all those knights. And those knights are very, very expensive for a player that doesn't really have a spectacular food eco. And behind this one, GiveUAnxiety is able to take 2 patches of huntables. He's able to access a lot of berries as well. So that extra map control is paying off here, as Donati is going to launch counterattack with a couple of knights. This could be great, because there is 7 villagers up north that could be intercepted by these.
Yeah, those knights are looking like they're going to have some fun pretty soon.
They're going to make a run for it. Knights trying to isolate those. They're not super far away from the base though, so you're probably not going to lose all of them, but there's at least going to be 2 or 3 dead villagers out here. On the other side though, GiveUAnxiety is unleashing hell, and his opponent doesn't really have a reliable gold income now either, so massing those knights is gonna be difficult when your base is already being pushed by so many rams and longbows.
Yeah, and this looks like a situation where Donardi might have to think about sacrificing his villager lead once again, just to clear out the rams. He's being patient at the moment. No one really cares about that wooden fortress at this point. There's no villagers there anyway, so he's okay to let a couple buildings here die. Just play with the raids with the knights, wait for some more units, and maybe wait for GiveUAnxiety to overextend where his villagers can really get a good spot on these rams. It looks like GiveUAnxiety is pushing in a little bit, trying to find out what's going on in the back of the base here. There's a lot of archers, though, not a lot of longbows.
Exactly, that's a ton of archers, and it looks like Donati might be able to repel this attack. At this point, if you're Donati, you have to focus down those spearmen, but it's pretty difficult to click all of those with the men-at-arms being nearby. And keep in mind that right now Donati is housed because the houses were burned down, villagers are being pulled. As you said, at this point Donati has to consider sacrificing his villager lead, but that's something that GiveUAnxiety has to be satisfied with, killing a lot of villagers here for the price of this push. Men-at-arms now jumping on the archers here. Spearmen are slowly getting taken down here, but since there is no gold income for Donati, it's not like knights are hitting the battlefield again. Not a single horseman coming in though, it's only archer play now for Donati, but men-at-arms longbows should be able to beat that pretty convincingly. And Donati is getting pushed back deeper and deeper into his base.
Yep, overall looking like a pretty good trade for GiveUAnxiety. As you said, he has to be satisfied with killing those villas. This push isn't necessarily to end the game; it's just to force some kind of concession out of Donardi here. And yeah, these men-at-arms are doing really well here, as Donardi hasn't been able to replace those knights. He's got 4 charges on his Golden Gate, though. He could sell some wood and potentially start training some knights, but at the moment just maybe too distracted to think about that at the moment. He's starting to lose vills on the berries on the north, and Longbow's kind of pushing in here, though. The wooden fortress is not probably the spot he wants to be fighting.
I think at this point he's realizing that he could do so much more damage, and it's now a situation where he's got the eco to replace his army, and he's realizing that Don Artie is going to struggle replacing that army with all those villagers being lost on the berries. The town center was under attack. Villagers were pulled to take down the rams, and they managed to take down one, but of course, those villagers will get picked apart, and as things stand, if you look at the population, Don Artie's at 62 villagers, his opponent's at 63, so that 2 town center advantage is now gone, and the men-at-arms, having 4 ranged armor, they will survive a ton of arrow fire here, so they can just rampage the eco of Don Artie for a long time. And at this point, GiveUAnxiety is just trying to make sure his opponent is starved out of resources, and on the far right, we got towers crawling up on that farming eco. If just a couple of longbows get there, that's going to be a slaughter as well. Don Artie is just unable to access resources at this point.
Yeah, really, really good control of all these points by GiveUAnxiety. Yeah, once that tower goes up, that's going to be very annoying. Those 15 villagers are going to have to make a run for it to try to get back to the safety of the base. And soon, like, the base is going to be in trouble too, as that back wood line is nearly exhausted, and he's going to have to think about moving to the more exposed forward wood or one of these wood lines in the corner. And yeah, GiveUAnxiety just doing a great job here for sure.
He's playing an excellent resource denial game, exactly how I want to play the English. Longbows moving up on the north as well, picking off a couple of vills. At this point, GUA is more than happy trading army to villagers because he knows exactly that his opponent is going to struggle rebuilding that eco at this point. Just look at all the attack notifications going out around the base of Don Artie. Everywhere we look, there are some red forces in his eco, and he's cleaning up the towers, but by the time he does that, his economy is completely dysfunctional at this point, and he's just going to struggle so much rebuilding those archers. And we're getting to the stage where the English will start setting up their farming eco. If you look at the overall resource income per minute, that's looking way better now for GiveUAnxiety.
Yeah, he's in a much more comfortable position than Don Artie. Even if Don Artie clears out this whole army, he's got to figure out where all these villagers are going to go, like and try to like lock down some more resources, especially wood. And yeah, just looking really, really strong from GiveUAnxiety at this point. As you said, just units everywhere, really making sure that Don Artie's feeling the pressure. But at the end of the day, it looks like Don Artie is going to hold, and the game will continue. Yeah, GiveUAnxiety could potentially be following this up with a Castle Age now. He's got the gold for it. He's going to have that food income as that farm transition is being completed. And a Castle Age is going to be something that Don Artie is going to be hard-pressed to compete with.
Indeed, that is next to impossible for him. I feel like at this point, GiveUAnxiety doesn't even need to go to Castle Age, because his lead is just so big. At this point, Don Artie has 73 population, GiveUAnxiety has 65 villagers only, so his villager count is almost higher than the total population of his opponent. We're seeing some knights hit the field again, but now the right side has collapsed, and there's just no food eco now for Don Artie. Most of his food eco were built on the right side, and it's going to be the King's Palace for GiveUAnxiety, so he's going to have his second town center up as he gets up to Castle Age, so Don Artie won't even be able to build a villager lead anymore.
Yep, looks like GiveUAnxiety is aging with the King's Palace in the back, so he will be trying to get the better tech here. But even despite that, still continuing to push, regardless of investing so many resources into that Castle Age. He's feeling pretty comfortable here. The Knights are doing well at defending, but you can always fall back to that tower. And yeah, as long as he keeps Don Artie investing into these feudal units, Don Artie's not going to be able to follow him up to Castle Age anytime soon. And as soon as he gets things like veteran longbow, like veteran men-at-arms with the armor-clad upgrade, things are going to start getting very difficult.
And it will be so difficult for Don Artie that he doesn't even think he can pull that off. GiveUAnxiety finishing off game number 2 as well. A lot of pressure going on from the English over here. Obviously, quite unfortunate for Don Artie that he had both of his hunts up front, but really GiveUAnxiety leveraged that resource control game so well in this one. He was able to diagnose that the opponent is not going to be able to ferry in those hunts if he's pushing them. He was able to get the tower up on that first wood line, forcing the opponent back for a second one. Then he was able to cut off access to that gold mine, and slowly but surely he just starved his opponent out of resources. So if you look at the overall resources gathered, there's a massive difference between the two players. Donati very heavy on the wood department, but that's basically because that was the only resource he had access to.
Yeah, just two really well executed games from GiveUAnxiety. Just really showing like how you want to play aggressively and always keeping tabs on his opponent. He always had those scouts on the sides, always had the raids going. He was always aware of where Donardi's economy was at all times, and always making sure that he was pressuring it at just the right moments. And yeah, it pays off big for him as he comes out with a 2-0, and yeah, really well deserved this time around.